Exclusive reporting from The Information this morning reveals how Elon Musk is making job cuts at X in a larger push to replace employees with XAI's Grok. You'll remember that XAI bought the social media platform back in March, and my colleague Theo Waite wrote a story about the state of play today. He joins me now. Theo, welcome to TITV.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome to have you here, Theo. So, what did you learn in the course of your reporting this story?
So the most immediate news is that at X, which was merged with XAI earlier this year, there's an effort underway to replace a lot of engineers and remaining human employees with Grok, which is XAI's LLM. And as part of that, there were some layoffs last month of engineers working in trust and safety. It's likely there will probably be some more in the future, and they're all kind of under this Elon mission of automating X essentially as much as possible.
Right. So I want to hear a little more about that. I mean, what do you think Elon's goal is in terms of how Grok is going to fit into X after the acquisition?
He wants it to run as much as possible. The algorithm, ad targeting, a lot of back end stuff. Like the recent layoffs were of people that worked in engineering for trust and safety. So stuff like detecting spam and government coordinated influence campaigns, that kind of thing. He basically thinks that you need as few people as possible doing that and as much AI as possible.
Got it. And how do these twin brothers that he's hired play into that broader goal?
Yeah, so the central characters in the story today are these two guys, Dima and Yevgen Sobolyev, who are basically they're twins, and they're basically a strike force that XAI kind of sent into X to put Grok into everything and to kind of spearhead Elon's mission here. They're they report to Elon, and they're kind of effectively the top engineers at X, even though Elon is technically the top engineer on paper. But they're the boss at the moment.
Do we know anything else about them? Like, what is their background? What else do we know about where they came from and how they made it to X?
Yeah, they're interesting. So they grew up in Ukraine. They both attended this university in Kharkiv, Ukraine, where they studied math at the same time together, and then they moved to Silicon Valley. Dima worked for years at Apple and then briefly joined OpenAI last year before he went to X. And then Yevgen worked at Meta for many years and then joined his brother at Apple briefly, and then also came to X or XAI this year. So they're really interesting. They kind of work in tandem, and my understanding is, there are people at the office that kind of just refer to them as the twins and see them as like one unit rather than two people.
Speaking of two units or being acting in concert, I mean, it seems like there are some parallels almost between what's going on at X, the social media platform, and XAI. Can you talk a little bit more about the similarities that we're seeing in terms of Elon Musk's approach and how he's choosing to run the two?
Yeah, so spiritually, there's kind of a similarity between this project at XAI called Macro Hard, which is a play on Microsoft.
Yeah.
And, Elon has kind of talked about a lot Macro Hard having this mission of basically building like a completely AI run software company, and he's argued that like companies that make physical things like cars or spaceships are easier are harder to replace than companies that make software, and a lot of Microsoft's business is software. And so Elon says, you can basically just make an AI that can create all the software and run all the software and uh, displace software companies. And so the spirit of macro hard is like to do that in a lot of different industries with a lot of different software. At XAI, or sorry, at X, it's more narrow, but they both kind of are part of this theme.
One of the things I really appreciated, Theo, when I was reading your story was that you included some perspectives from people who were really close to the situation. Sounds like, employees. What are some of the concerns that you've been hearing about Grok and how Elon Musk plans to integrate it further into his companies?
Right. So when you think about XAI's mission of getting Grok to as many people as possible, like now that they've acquired X, they obviously have this huge way to essentially force it on people that use X. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I've never like chosen to interact with Grok on X, and yet I see it all the time.
Me
And
neither.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm not. I know some people, at Grok, is this true or something? I don't understand that, but um, there are ways in which it's worked into the UX on X. For example, like again, another feature I don't use, but I see it. If you're composing a post, you'll have this option to say like, do you want to generate an image to go along with the post using Grok? And there are all kinds of other versions of this where it's just kind of stuffed into the interface. And for some people at X, that has kind of been concerning because essentially people that work on X and that work on like the social media side don't have control over Grok, but Grok is generating all this stuff that shows up on X. So like famously, there was the Grok talking about Mecha Hitler thing a while ago that was frustrating for people on the X side because that was, this output that they couldn't control showing up. And there have been similar issues where, Grok will generate like pornography or adult content or offensive things or copyright, copyright infringing things. And people at X just kind of have no control over that, even though it does impact, the product that they spend all day working on.
I mean, it sounds like it's fair to say that there are more than a few snags at this point, but I guess just zooming out, Musk's goal is to make the company more efficient. I mean, how are you thinking through the possibility of further layoffs, whether they're at his companies or even beyond, just as AI becomes more and more prevalent in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, something that's true of XAI just as much as it's true of other, big tech companies is that, companies that have been pouring money into AI have to show some kind of result. And right now, like that can mean layoffs. I mean, Amazon, did big layoffs too. Other companies have done large layoffs after pouring a lot of money into AI. And, I think that sometimes AI can kind of be a pretense to do something companies wanted to do anyway. It's not like, an Elon Musk led company doing layoffs is, completely new. Like that happened when he bought Twitter originally. Um, but to me, like X is a pretty interesting case because these changes become evident so quickly in the product. Like, just think how often you see, new features pop up or your For You feed evolve or spam, get more prevalent and then disappear. Like there are all these changes like that as a user just become evident so much quicker than they do at other companies. So I think like, watching X and XAI will be a pretty interesting, like, front, kind of a way to see like what could be coming at other companies in the next few years.
Ultimately, do you think that that vision will work out for Musk when it comes to making the company more efficient using AI?
I mean, it's tempting to say no because there are all these potential problems, but like, think how many people said they were gonna, quit Twitter initially and are still on there. Like, it's a very persistent platform with a huge base of users, and like, I think it's possible he could change a lot more and people would still stick around.
That's a really good point, Theo. It was great having you on the show, and I guess only time will tell whether we're going to see more layoffs coming from Musk companies and beyond. But really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, Anita.